Hello, hello! My name is Callista, and welcome back to Dragon Age Origins. In the last episode, we were still exploring the Dalish camp. We had a bit of a chat with a rather lovesick young man named Qwinn, and we agreed that we would go talk to Gaina to maybe see what she has to say. She's been kind of denying, he said bonding, but I'm assuming that's kind of their version of marriage. So we're going to see what's up with Gaina. Hello, my dear.
Andiran Atishan, outsider.
You are Gaina, correct? Qwinn mentioned you. Can you answer some questions? I should go. You are Gaina, correct? Qwinn mentioned you.
You spoke to him? What did he say?
So she is interested in him. Because otherwise she'd be like, oh yeah, Gammon, but it's the fact that, what did he say? Did he speak about me? You know, that kind of thing. He said that you refused to give him your hand. He said that you were cruel and that he hates you. He said that if he was lucky, he would bed you soon. We are not that cruel. He said that you refused to give him your hand.
Oh. I don't expect an outsider to understand our ways, but I just can't bond with Qwinn. He's been a hunter apprentice for over 2 years now, and he's yet to slay a proper beast. Each time he's tried, something has gone wrong. Perhaps the creators do not wish us to bond. I cannot bond with an apprentice hunter, can I?
Persuade, if you love him, it doesn't matter what he is, does it? You are cruel, no wonder Qwinn hates you. No, I don't suppose you could. Well, I mean, what's wrong with bonding with an apprentice hunter? If you love him, it doesn't matter what he is, does it?
But what if he never becomes a proper hunter? What will become of our family?
Persuade, if you love him, then believe in him and help him succeed. Persuade, why does everything depend on him? Then you're out of luck, aren't you? Ooh. Now here's a question. How would Artin feel about this? Here's the thing, Orzammar in itself is quite an old-fashioned society where the men are kind of doing things and the women stay at home and make babies. Preferably with their husband, and then the husband goes out, finds some mistresses and tries to make babies with them. But I don't... How do I put... It's not that Artin is very against that. That's her culture. That's part of her heritage. She isn't, like, morally opposed to it. I would be, but Artin isn't. It's... I think Artin is a little unusual. She likes to fight. How do I put this? She's not against, women staying at home, making babies, all of that. It's just that she couldn't do that herself. I think she was... How do I put this? She was raised to be more, and that isn't me saying that, women who want to be stay-at-home mums are lesser or anything like that. I think that, raising a child is a very difficult job. I don't think I could do that successfully. So it's not like I'm saying they're lesser, but I think Artin is kind of... She was raised to be fighting. She was raised to command. And the idea of then being forced to stay inside and just kind of look after a house, she's kind of like, I was raised to do more than that. I can't be doing that. So I do kind of think she'd be like, well, why does he have to be the one going out and doing stuff? Why can't you be the one going out and doing stuff? Why does everything depend on him?
You are right. As a woman, I must ensure that he believes in himself. All I've done is make him miserable. I know I cannot be like you, both woman and Grey Warden, but I can be formidable in my own small way, can't I? Masiranas, thank you. You have helped me put this into perspective. I will go and speak to Qwinn.
Hey! Are we invited to the wedding?
Fool.
Gaina? What do you mean? Have you changed your mind?
I have. The outsider has helped me to see that I was wrong. I have made you miserable, and I should not have.
But what about my hunt?
I don't care about that. I know you will pass your hunt in time, and we will be happy. Us and our children.
Thank you, Gaina. You've made me a happy man. I feel blessed by the gods today.
Aww.
We are both very grateful for the part you've played in bringing us together.
How marvelous you are. I am so happy.
Does anyone else feel the urge to vomit? No? 'Tis just me?
Here, take this. It's been in my family for a very long time, but I hope it plays some part in your battle against the Darkspawn. It's the very least we could do.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Morgan disapproves, -5. What did we get? I think he gave us a book. The Tale of... Oh, flippin' heck. How do you pronounce that name? Iloran? That's what I'm gonna go with, Iloran. In the days after the rising of Zazakale, the Dark Ones covered every corner of the land. The Archdemon drove all the nations of the world before him, Shenlin and Elven alike. In the far north, where the hills wander the plains and the earth is eternally baked beneath the uncaring sun, the lands which the Shenlin call Anderfells, a clan of our people lived, struggling to survive the blight. Iloran was their keeper. A hunter in his younger days, crafty as any wolf, he led his people always just ahead of the Darkspawn who chased them. But the old hunter knew that even the Hala cannot run forever. They must turn and fight or be run down. At the foot of the Murdain, the Darkspawn cornered Iloran's clan. That night, the moon was strangled by clouds, the earth concealed by a dread mist that rose out of nowhere, so that the Elven could not tell up from down. In the confusion, the Darkspawn attacked. But Iloran had prepared for them. All around the camp, the hunters had strewn dry grass, brush and brambles. When the sound of rustling footfalls began, Iloran and the other Haren called upon the old magic. They struck out with lightning, and though the bolts missed the Darkspawn, they hit their target all the same. The sea of kindling lit, and not one of the dark creatures made it through that fire to reach Iloran's clan. From the Tale of Iloran, written by Zathrian, as it has been passed down from keeper to keeper for generations. Okay, very nice. Now then, this is another scout's bow. Thank you. Okay. Ooh, I remember this quest. Let me have a check of something. Not my talents. It's skills. Ooh, okay. I'm gonna have to come back to this because I'm pretty sure we need Master Survival for this quest. So yeah, I think I'm gonna leave that for now.
There are places where those horns bring huge prices. Can cure diseases, so they say.
I wonder if that's actually true. Oh. Whether or not these horns can cure diseases, apparently Hala can merge with fences. Damn. Okay, little buddy. Good for you. Thank you. Now then, while I'm not going to speak to Alora, I can look at this statue of Gillenane, Mother of the Hala. They say Gillenane was one of the people, in the days before Alathin, and the chosen of Andruil the Huntress. She was very beautiful, with hair of snowy white, and as graceful as a gazelle. She kept always to Andruil's ways, and Andruil favoured her above all others. One day, while hunting in the forest, Gillenane came across a hunter she did not know. At his feet lay a hawk, shot through the heart by an arrow. Gillenane was filled with rage, for the hawk, along with the hare, is an animal much beloved of Andruil. Gillenane demanded that the hunter make an offering to Andruil in exchange for taking the life of one of her creatures. The hunter refused, and Gillenane called upon the goddess to curse him so that he could never again hunt and kill a living creature. Gillenane's curse took hold, and the hunter found that he was unable to hunt. His prey would dart out of sight, and his arrows would fly astray. His friends and family began to mock him for his impotence, for what use is a hunter who cannot hunt? Ashamed, the hunter swore he would find Gillenane and repay her for what she had done to him. He found Gillenane while she was out on a hunt with her sisters, and lured her away from them with lies and false words. He told Gillenane that he had learned his lesson and begged her to come with him so she could teach him to make a proper offering to Andruil. Moved by his plea, Gillenane followed the hunter, and when they were away from all of her sisters, the hunter turned on Gillenane. He blinded her first, and then bound her as one would bind a kill fresh from the hunt. But because he was cursed, the hunter could not kill her. Instead, he left her for dead in the forest. And Gillenane prayed to the gods for help. She prayed to Elganon for vengeance, to Mother Mythal to protect her, but above all, she prayed to Andruil. Andruil sent her hares to Gillenane, and they chewed through the ropes that bound her, but Gillenane was still wounded and blind, and could not find her way home. So Andruil turned her into a beautiful white deer, the first Halla, and Gillenane found her way back to her sisters and led them to the hunter, who was brought to justice. And since that day, the Halla have guided the people and have never led us astray, for they listen to the voice of Gillenane. From The Tale of Gillenane, as told by Gisharel, keeper of the Relefarian clan of the Dalish Elves. Very interesting.
Yes.
It's rather unfortunate is maybe the word I want, considering what we learn in Inquisition. All of these stories are probably bullshit. Pretty bullshit, but bullshit all the same. Now then, what's in here? Ooh, a love letter. I love these codexes. Okay, Darling Reginald's, we've read that one. We've read that one. Oh, my elf fruit. The herbalist suggested powdered Bronto horn. I was very discreet. Your sunflower, aww. Very cute. Now then. We haven't actually gotten anything on Mythal. Yeah, we haven't found any statues relating to her. That's interesting. Okay. Now then, here's Fenharel, the Dread Wolf. There is precious little we know about Fenharel, for they say he did not care for our people. Elganon and Mythal created the world as we know it. Andruil taught us the ways of the hunter. Selays and Junay gave us fire and crafting. But Fenharel kept to himself and plotted the betrayal of all the gods. And after the destruction of Arlathan, when the gods could no longer hear our prayers, it is said that Fenharel spent centuries in a far corner of the earth, giggling madly and hugging himself in glee. The legends say that before the fall of Arlathan, the gods we know and revere fought an endless war with others of their kind. There is not a Haren among us who remember these others. Only in dreams do we hear whispered the names of Gelderon and Dernthal and Anaris, for they are the forgotten ones, the gods of terror and malice, spite and pestilence. In ancient times, only Fenharel could walk without fear among both our gods and the Forgotten Ones. For although he is kin to the gods of the people, the Forgotten Ones knew of his cunning ways and saw him as one of their own. And that is how Fenharel tricked them. Our gods saw him as a brother, and they trusted him when he said that they must keep to the heavens while he arranged a truce. And the Forgotten Ones trusted him also when he said that he would arrange for the defeat of our gods, if only the Forgotten Ones would return to the Abyss for a time. They trusted Fen'Harel, and all of them were betrayed. And they were all of them betrayed. And Fen'Harel sealed them away so they could never again walk among the people. From the tale of Fen'Harel's triumph, as told by Gisharel, keeper of the Relefaren clan of the Dalish Elves. Very interesting.
As you say.
Now then, aside from that elf root, which I'll pick up when we enter the forest proper, I'm pretty sure that we've got everything. I just kind of want to have a bit of a run round first, just to make sure. I could have sworn there was something on Mythol knocking about here. There's Mithra.
So tell me, was the Tower of Magi everything you thought it would be?
Abominations running rampant? Templars ready to slaughter every mage in sight? Yes, it rather met all my expectations.
You don't think you might have been better off getting your training there, instead of whatever your mother taught you?
You're right. My mother didn't nearly have as many abominations running about. That certainly would have improved my education.
I'll give you that one.
I'm so relieved.
I love their banter. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be anything over here. That was... what is that? That's just an elven woman. Okay. Where is the thing dedicated to Mythol? I can only hope that it's actually knocking about in the forest somewhere, maybe? Yeah, we explored down that way. We haven't yet talked to these people over here. Yes, Sarel, the clan storyteller.
We greet you, child of the stone. I understand you are to venture into the haunted forest to save our brethren. I suspect your efforts may be in vain. An entire group of our hunters went into the forest to do as you intend, and they have not returned.
The Keeper mentioned that. If I am lucky, maybe I can find them. Yes, but they weren't us. The Keeper mentioned that.
Then you are very brave to adventure into such a place, even knowing the danger that awaits. Your courage impresses us greatly.
I must deal with the blight. If I can help you, I will. Your attitude is getting annoying. You think sarcasm is going to help you, do you? I haven't done anything to deserve this, have I? Perhaps I should go. Yeah. It's one thing to be nervous, or like even a little bit hostile in a kind of like, who are you, what are you doing here kind of way. But the sarcasm would... if they were all being sarcastic, Artin would just be like, you know what, screw the lot of you, I'm gonna go find someone else to help me, I'm just wash our hands of them. I'm not too fond of number 4. Number 4 kind of sounds a bit weepy. I don't think she'd take a holier-than-thou attitude with number 1. You know, I think she'd just call him out on this. You think sarcasm is going to help, do you?
Nothing will help us now. Least of all the meddling of an outsider.
You are being most unkind, Sarel. Would you refuse our hunters' help simply because of the hand that offered it?
You shame me, Lethalan. I have allowed my bitterness to cloud my better judgment. Forgive me, Grey Warden. It is most difficult to forget the lessons the Shemlin have taught us. Perhaps I can yet make amends. Stay while I spin a tale for our children. And then I will tell you of the forest if you desire.
Perhaps another time, but thank you. Yes, I'd like that. I want to know about the forest now. I'll leave you to your tales, elf. He's making the effort to be polite. We might as well be polite back. Yes, I'd like that.
Come and join us then, all of you. Now, what say we tell the story of the fall of the Dales, Which of you children knows that best?
I think I do.
Yes? Then come, child. Oh, don't be frightened of the outsiders. Now, where do you suppose such
I
a
don't
tale
think he's
should
being
begin?
polite.
When we were slaves?
Yes. Long ago, our people were slaves to an empire the Shemlin had built on the darkest magic. They took away our history and our language and left us nothing. And then that empire fell. We were freed.
Because Andraste came with her army, and Shartan joined her.
Yes. Andraste, the Shemlin prophet, came out of the south and challenged the Tevinter Imperium. Our ancestor, Shartan, fought at her side. And when the rebellion came to an end, we were given a new homeland in the west, the Dales. We began to rebuild the culture and history we had lost in our years of slavery. We worshipped the creators and made the Dales our home. Perhaps you know what happened next, stranger. Do you know what happened to the Dales?
Yeah, he's not being polite at all. You were invaded by the humans, something you think was unfair, no doubt. Enough, I don't like where this is going. No, I really couldn't say. This is especially unfair considering Artin isn't even human. She was a dwarf. The dwarves had nothing to do with the fall of the Dales. I think clearly he's trying to... I don't know if intimidate is the right word, but he's trying to make us feel shitty when, one, he really shouldn't, two, I don't think that would even work. Artin... How do I put... Artin feels no guilt for what happened to the elves because the dwarves weren't involved. If you know what I mean. The dwarves didn't invade the Dales. You were invaded by the humans.
Indeed. They resented that we would not worship their maker, and they resented our ways because they were so different from their own. The Shemlin nations grew cold towards the Dales. They called us blasphemers and tyrants, and declared war upon us. A great crusade.
It's a war that you started, I'm told. You say that there was no reason for it. Not every human felt that way, I'm sure. Ooh. Oh, you say that like there was no reason for it. Okay, not number 2 then. I don't think Artin likes how confrontational he's being. Because he is being very confrontational about something that Artin's people had no hand in. So I don't think she, like, if it was a case of, like, and the dwarves sided with the humans, then that's fair. But it's, like, you're trying to involve me in something that we had no involvement in. Why are you being this way? She gave him the chance to be polite. He pretended to be polite, and then it turned out, no, he's being confrontational. I think she'd be confrontational back. It's a war that you started, I'm told.
Told by whom? A history that has been dictated by the victors, no doubt. Oh, I am certain we played a part in our downfall. We believed that the Shemlin would not revoke their prophet's gift so lightly. We were wrong. They took our lands, forcing us to abandon our gods and live as beggars in Shemlin cities. But there were those of us who refused to abandon our ways. They emblazoned the symbols of the creators upon their flesh and vowed to keep their ancient lore alive.
That's us. That's the Dalish.
Indeed, child. We chose to wander, homeless, rather than be ruled by the Shemlin. And all our clans wander alone until the day we have a homeland once more.
Then we bring the old ways back to our people, because they have forgotten it all.
For we are the Dalish, the keepers of the lost lore.
The walkers of the lonely path.
We are the Elvenan, and never again shall we submit. And that is the tale of the Dales, stranger. Thank you for allowing us to tell it to you.
I will say, one of the things that really annoys me about the Dalish is how dismissive they are of the city elves. Because they really do, what do they call them? The flat ears. Which, I'm just, aggravates me so much. Also, how kind of like even the kid said it, you know, like, oh, and we'll teach it to them because they've forgotten. It's the idea, like, it doesn't even enter their brain that some elves would say, no, I don't want to live in the forest. This sounds like shit. That does annoy me about the Dalish. Thank you, I enjoyed it very much. You didn't give me much choice. That sounded more like a sermon. Perhaps you'll allow me to tell a story as well. Again... I'm not entirely sure what she'd say here. I don't think she'd offer up a story of the dwarves. To be perfectly honest, I kind of feel like Artin, she doesn't want to spend more time than is necessary around the dwarves. She feels very unwelcome here. And it's, especially because it's like, I'm helping you out, I'm saving your hunters, and you're being a dick to me. We should be polite. We were a bit confrontational in the middle bit there, but again, he's running very hot and cold with us. He's going from being confrontational to being polite to being confrontational to being polite. It's very awkward. Thank you. I enjoyed it very much.
Perhaps one day you will tell us a tale of your people. A day when you are not guest and stranger, but savior. Now, as I said I would, I can tell you what I know of the Brazilian forest. Do you wish to hear it?
Yeah, he is being very hot and cold with us. Yes, tell me of the forest.
Our legends say that before the Shemlin came, the Brazilian forest was a place of our ancestors that predated even our oldest homeland. The people of the Imperium came here and gave the forest its name. If they found traces of our ancestors, we cannot say. If they did, those elves were slain or enslaved. We know only that a great many battles were fought here. These trees grow upon the graves of those who fell, Shemlin and elves both.
And those battles tore the veil. Yes, Zathrian mentioned that. And those battles tore the veil?
Indeed. Very wise of you. There was so much death that the veil into the beyond was torn. The Shemlin know the beyond as the Fade, the place of dreams and spirits. When the veil is torn, spirits pass into our world freely. The legends say that one great spirit possessed the wolf that became Witherfang, who passed its curse of rage onto men and created werewolves.
This Witherfang still exists today, so there are many spirits in the forest. There were many battles in the forest. How many werewolves are there? That's all I needed to know. This Witherfang still exists today?
So Zathrian insists. He says that Witherfang does not age, as the werewolves do. Witherfang is as much spirit as it is beast, and thus it is immortal.
Okay.
Perhaps it cannot even be slain. At the very least, it is old and powerful, much as Zathrian himself.
So there are many spirits in the forest?
The forest is said to be haunted. Spirits possess the trees, the wolves, even the bodies of the dead. They yearn for true life, you see.
There were battles in the forest?
Who can say what value the Imperium placed on this land? And how many elves died here, in slavery? Even the barbarians, who came to overthrow the Imperium, fought and died on this soil.
How many werewolves are there?
No one knows. When the Shemlin lived in these parts, the curse would spread anew to a few of them with each passing year. They would run off into the forest, never to be seen again. Eventually, all the Shemlin left. One assumes the werewolves survive by passing their curse to their offspring. They have had no new blood. Until now, that is.
Have the hunters become werewolves?
It is said that one or two have turned already, though the Keeper denies it. As for the rest, They will either die or turn, unless they are killed out of mercy. I would rather die than become a ravening, soulless beast. Wouldn't you?
That's all I need to know.
One last warning. The forest is like a thing alive. It changes as it wills, closing paths behind you and opening up new ones. Too many have become lost within, unable to find their way out. Were I you, I would endeavor not to make the forest my enemy.
Okay. So, if you are a Dalish elf, you get a much nicer reception from Sarel. Oh god, how many codex entries did we get? Damn! Okay. The Brazilian Forest. There are many places in the Brazilian Forest where the veil is so thin the difference between awake and dreaming is next to nothing. In one such place, a woodshaper was born under such unfortunate stars that his mother named him Abalas, which means sorrow. And he lived up to his name. He could keep no apprentices and lost his stock of bows in mishap after mishap until finally he had nothing. The rest of the clan began to fear that his ill luck would harm them too, and whispered among themselves of casting him out. Abalas heard them and resolved to change his luck, and so went into the forest alone to seek a suitable tree from which to make bows. At last he spied a young rowan growing beside a stream. He drew his axe, and the tree cried out in fear, begging to be scared. But Abalas said, "If I do not take your life, mine will surely end." With 2 strokes he felled the tree. From the tree he made the finest 3 bows he had ever crafted. Pleased, Abalas returned to camp and gave his bows to the hunters at once. By nightfall, however, the camp was in an uproar. The hunters had returned with braces of hairs, which, when cut open, revealed only worms and sawdust. The elder said it was a sign that the hunters had robbed some spirit of its host, for it is well known that spirits do not go about the waking world on their own, but inhabit another creature's body. The elder worked a charm to banish the spirit back to the Fade, and the clan went to sleep hungry. The next day, the hunters brought back a doe, and again the beast bled sawdust. Now the clan began to fear that the spirit would starve them, and wondered what they had done to deserve it. Abalas came forward then, and told of the rowan tree. The elder considered for a long time before declaring that they must replace what Abalas had taken from the spirit. So he sent the hunters to dig up a rowan sapling and bring it living to the camp. There the elder ordered the sapling planted and appealed to the spirit for forgiveness. There was a terrible sound then, as if the whole forest were crying out in protest. Darkness fell upon the camp, though it was just past midday. And when the darkness passed, a rowan grove, every tree bearing the frozen face of a terrified elf, stood where the camp had been. From then on, it was forbidden in every clan to cut living trees in the Brazilian forest. The spirits know nothing of forgiveness. The Rowan Grove, a Dalish tale from Ferelden Folklore and History by Sister Patrine, Chantry Scholar. So I don't actually know how true this story is, given that it is told by a Chantry Scholar. This could be entirely made up. The Dales. Many forget that when Holy Andraste called out to the oppressed people to rise up, it was the Elves who answered her first. The humblest slaves of the Imperium became her vanguard, and when victory came, they were rewarded accordingly. They were given a land in what is now the south of Orlais, called the Dales. A great exodus of Elves undertook the journey to their new home, crossing ocean, desert, and a mountain. Their city, the first elven city since the fabled Arlathan, was called Halam Shiral. A new era had begun for the Elves. But the old era wasn't through with them. In their forest city, the Elves turned again to worship their silent ancient gods. They became increasingly isolationist, posting Emerald Knights who guarded their borders with jealousy, rebuking all efforts at trade or civilized discourse. Dark rumours spread in the lands that bordered the Dales, whispering of humans captured and sacrificed to elven gods. And then came an attack by the elves on the defenceless village of Red Crossing. The Chantry replied with the exalted march of the Dales, and the era of the elven kingdom came to an end. Halam Sharal was utterly destroyed, the elves driven out, scattered, left to survive on goodwill alone. From Ferelden Folklore and History by Sister Patrine, Chantry Scholar. Arlathan Part 1. Before the ages were named or numbered, our people were glorious and eternal and never changing. Like the great oak trees, they were constant in their traditions, strong in their roots, and ever reaching for the sky. They felt no need to rush when life was endless. They worshipped their gods for months at a time. Decisions came after decades of debate, and an introduction could last for years. From time to time, our ancestors would drift into centuries-long slumber, but this was not death, for we know they wandered the fade in their dreams. In those ages, our people called all the land Elvenan, which in the old language means place of our people, and at the centre of the world stood the great city of Arlathan, a place of knowledge and debate where the best of the ancient elves would go to trade knowledge, greet old friends, and settle disputes that had gone on for millennia. But while our ancestors were caught up in the forever cycle of ages, drifting through life at what we today would consider an intolerable pace, the world outside the lush forests and ancient trees was changing. The humans first arrived from Parvolin to the north, called Shemlin, or Quicklings by the ancients. The humans were pitiful creatures whose lives blinked by in an instant. When they first met the elves, the humans were brash and warlike, quick to anger and quick to fight, with no patience for the unhurried pace of elven diplomacy. But the humans brought worse things than war with them. Our ancestors proved susceptible to human diseases, and for the first time in history, elves died of natural causes. What's more, those elves who spent time bartering and negotiating with the humans found themselves aging, tainted by the humans' brash and impatient lives. Many believed that the ancient gods had judged them unworthy of their long lives and cast them down among the Quicklings. Our ancestors came to look upon the humans as parasites, which I understand is similar to the ways humans see our people in the cities. The ancient elves immediately moved to close Elvenan off from the humans for fear that this quickening effect would crumble the civilization. The fall of Arlathan as told by Gisharel, keeper of the Relifaran clan of the Dalish Elves. Arlathan Part 2. You ask what happened to Arlathan? Sadly, we do not know. Even those of us who keep the ancient lore have no record of what truly happened. What we have are accounts of the days before the fall and a fable of the whims of the gods. The human world was ever changing, even as the elves slept. Clans and tribes gave way to a powerful empire called Devinter, which, and for what reason we do not know, moved to conquer Elvenan. When they breached the great city of Arlathan, our people, fearful of disease and loss of immortality, chose to flee rather than fight. With magic, demons, and even dragons at their behest, the Tevinter Imperium marched easily through Arlathan, destroying homes and galleries and amphitheatres that had stood for ages. Our people were corralled as slaves, and human contact quickened their veins until every captured elf turned mortal. The elves called to their ancient gods, but there was no answer. As to why the gods didn't answer, our people left only a legend. They say that Fenharel, the dread wolf and lord of tricksters, approached the ancient gods of good and evil and proposed a truce. The gods of good would remove themselves to heaven, and the lords of evil would exile themselves to the abyss, neither group ever again to enter the other's lands. But the gods did not know that Fenharel had planned to betray them, and by the time they realized the Dreadwolf's treachery, they were sealed in their respective realms, never again to interact with the mortal world. It is a fable, to be sure, but those elves who travel beyond claim that Fenharel still roams the world of dreams, keeping watch over the gods lest they escape from their prisons. Whatever the case, Arlathan had fallen to the very humans our people had once considered mere pests. It is said that the Tevinter Magisters used their great destructive power to force the very ground to swallow Arlathan whole, destroying eons of collected knowledge, culture, and art. The whole of elven lore left only to memory. The fall of Arlathan, as told by Sarel, keeper of the Ralafarin clan of the Dalish Elves. This sounds very wistful. And I think, even without knowing what we know from Inquisition, I think it wouldn't be wise to take these codex entries at face value, because it is so romantic and, oh, once upon a time there were a group of people and they were peaceful and eternal and beautiful as the sun and blah blah blah. It's like, even before Inquisition I was very skeptical of this. Even, how do I put this? It wasn't that I disbelieved it, it was that, you know, take it with a pinch of salt, if you get what I mean. The Dalish Elves. I took the road north from Val Royeaux towards Navarra with a merchant caravan. A scant 2 days past the Orlesian border, we were beset by bandits. They struck without warning from the cover of the trees, hammering our wagons with arrows, killing most of the caravan guards instantly. The few who survived the arrow storm drew their blades and charged into the trees after our attackers. We heard screams muffled by the forest, and then nothing more of those men. After a long silence, the bandits appeared. Elves covered in tattoos and dressed in hides. They looted all the supplies and valuables they could carry from the merchants and disappeared back into the trees. These, I was informed later, were the Dalish Elves, the wild elves who lurk in the wilderness on the fringes of settled lands, preying upon travellers and isolated farmers. These wild elves have reverted to the worship of their false gods and are rumoured to practice their own form of magic, rejecting all human society. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Genitivi. There we go. Now, I am out of time for this episode. In the next, I want to speak to Zathrian again, and I want to speak to Sarel again, just in case he has anything else to say, but then I think we are good to go. We can finally enter the Brazilian forest, but until then, please remember to like if you enjoyed, leave a comment below, and if you wanted to subscribe, it would be very much appreciated. I've been Callista. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.